Hello, my name is Kyle Admire. I'm the Director of Safety and Security for Pecos Barstow Toya ISD. And I'm so excited that you guys are here with us to be our substitutes. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there to provide you with the information you need to be a substitute with us. So I put this video together, and hopefully you'll find it insightful and useful. First of all, what I want to talk to you, in your packet, you have what we refer to as the Standard Response Protocol. And what this is an agreement that many school districts have come together and said, hey, we all agree that when you hear these phrases, these are how you are to respond to those phrases. And there's 5 of them, and I'm going to cover all 5 of them with you right quick. The first one that you're going to see, and that you can turn to, is hold. Hold means you are to hold inside your classroom. No one is to leave or come into your, no one is to leave your classroom. They keep them in there. Let's say they call a hold and a student is in the restroom. Well, once a student comes back from the restroom, you let them in, but no one else is to leave that classroom. What's happening is more than likely something, for example, this is an example, someone is receiving medical aid and we're having first responders come and provide medical aid to someone. We don't need the hallways crowded with students and other adults while first responders are rendering aid to somebody. So a hold will be put on, and you just carry on with class. Let's say if you finish your lesson, find something else for the students to do. But we have other situations going on, and we need you to keep those students inside that classroom. They can wait until the hold has been lifted to let people go to the restroom. The next one you may hear is called secure. Secure, that's basically something is outside of the building and we need to bring everybody in. For example, let's say a dog is being very rabid and very vicious and barking and biting at people outside the building. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring everybody inside. If you have students playing outside, bring them in. If you have the students, whatever reason, students are outside, you are outside, bring yourself into the building and make sure the doors are locked behind you. That would be a secure hold. Now, we could go into lockdown, but I'm going to come back to lockdown. Next one I want to talk about is shelter. Shelter is basically, you guys remember it from back in your days in school, it's probably a fire drill. Oh, I'm not a fire drill, please forgive me. That would be a tornado drill. And so, inclement weather drill, earthquake drill, whatever it is, we are finding a safe place within the school building. They should be posted on your walls in your classroom, and if they're not, ask your building administrator where you go in case of a shelter. That's what the shelter is. You bring the students in and you keep them safe wherever the designated area is for them to be safe until it has been lifted. Next one I want to talk about is it's going to be evacuation, or let me see, not evacuation. It's going to be evacuation. Evacuation, there it is, evacuate. Evacuation is just like that. Back in the day, y'all remember it as fire drills. That's where you grab your go bucket. Now your go bucket should have been grabbed with the shelter as well. And we're going to talk about the go bucket here in a little bit. But you grab your go bucket and you go outside with the students to your designated area. These evacuation routes should be posted in your classroom. If they are not, be sure to check with your building administrator and they'll tell you where to go. An evacuation, you take kids, you go outside. We'll talk about the go bucket. Inside of the go bucket, you're going to have a green card, a red card saying you need help, students unaccounted for, something's not right, and then you have a green card that says, hey, everything's good to go, I'm good to go. And so that leads us to the big dog, the important one, the one that everybody gets nervous about or whatever, is called lockdown. Lockdown is called because whatever reason, there's many reasons that we can call lockdown. Most people are familiar with lockdown being called because of what we refer to as an active shooter. But a lockdown can be called for any other reason. The building administrator can initiate it for whatever reason they seem fit, justified for doing. So, now, during the lockdown, the phrase you'll hear over the comm, which is lockdown, locks lights out of sight. and you need to follow that very, very strict. Make sure your door is locked. Much research and things have been done, and they discovered that an active shooter has never gotten past a locked door. They've shot at the lock, they've pounded on it, but as long as that door is locked, they're not getting through it, and they're moving on to the next thing. So, lock your door. Lights, you want to turn those lights off. You want to make the appearance that that room is vacant. So you're also moving the students out of sight, so that they're just out of sight for whatever, they're behind a safe wall, and there's a designated area in your classroom. You can check with the building administrator, but basically you want to be up against the wall where the active shooter cannot see you. So locks, lights, out of sight. Now, how long are you supposed to stay in there? Well, you stay in there until someone who has a key. Who has a key? The people who have a key are administrators, first responders, and law enforcement. They're the only people who have a key. Do not let anybody in the classroom who doesn't have a key. If you hear, hey, the drill's over, y'all come on out, do not come out. Let me in, please help. Do not let them in. They have a place that they can go to. You are to keep that door locked, shut at all times. And if the drill is over, or if the lockdown has been lifted, a police officer will come clear that room, unlock the door, and let you know, or a building administrator. Now, what if the fire drill goes off? Fire, fire, fire. Do not leave the building. Do not open that door. You stay in that room no matter what. Because, as I have found out and discovered, the gunfire will set off the fire alarm. And some active shooters will pull the fire alarm to get students and people to leave the classroom. So, when a lockdown has been called, it can only be lifted by a key, open the door, and they let you in the room. Or they let themselves in the room. So that's the lockdown, that's the protocol. So let's talk about our go bucket. One of the first things we have in the go bucket is a clipboard. On that clipboard, you're going to have, you can have an inventory sheet, but you'll also have a roster of the students in your that are in that classroom. And we talked about the blue cards, green cards, and stuff like that. So here we go with the bucket. Let's talk about this bucket. Inside this bucket, we have what I refer to as a boo-boo kit. The boo-boo kit is Band-Aids, little bandages, basically what they're said. They're for boo-boos. Now, these are sealed because this go bucket is meant for emergencies only. So do not, if your kid's like, oh, I got a boo-boo, will you please, give me a Band-Aid? Do not dig in this bucket and open this up. This is meant for emergencies. Okay? All right. Now, we have the duct tape. One of the things I didn't cover and talk about is a hazmat drill. If we are calling a hazmat, you will go to a designated area. More than likely, it's going to be the same area as your inclement weather. And you're going to seal up your windows, cracks in your windows, the door jamb. You're going to use this duct tape to seal those things up in case of a chemical hazmat emergency. And they will give you the instructions on that. Next, we also have hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is just that, hand sanitizer, because you're not going to be able to leave your room and wash your hands and stuff of that nature. Then we also have, you'll have larger water bottles than this, but you'll have water bottles. Also inside here, you have a flashlight. I got to get the batteries for that one. But you'll have a flashlight. You'll have a Sharpie. You'll have a whistle. And these are for, the Sharpie is, you can check roll, but also we'll talk about a tourniquet here in a little bit. But we can also have the whistle. So the whistle is so you can get the attention to first responders in the event that you have it. And you also have a trash bag, which we will come back to the trash bag. Also inside here, you have what we refer to as a Stop the Bleed kit. Inside Stop the Bleed kits, and we should have all of them already opened up for you. Nothing in here expires, so we're not worried about that. You have a pair of scissors, you have rubber gloves, or you have gloves. You have a pair of scissors, and you have You also have, this is an emergency blanket. Emergency! Do not, if we're having a drill and it's freezing cold outside, do not let the kids have access to this. We also have more gloves. This is gauze. So I'll talk about gauze here in a little bit. We'll have gauze in here as well. Smaller bandage gauze as well. And there's also a Sharpie in there as well. But this is what I'm not going to open this up, but this is a tourniquet. So, be right back. This is a training tourniquet. In this training tourniquet, so basically, when someone is bleeding, okay, they're bleeding, blood needs to be inside the body, and your blood has a natural tendency using platelets to stop bleeding. In the event that someone has been tragically hurt and the bleeding does not stop, you can take a gauze and you can put it over the wound, and that wound will the gauze will help it clot and stop bleeding. And if that doesn't work, then you get more advanced, thicker gauze, and you put it over the wound. If you put gauze on a wound, do not take gauze off. So I'm putting these on, the wound's not stopping, leave the bandage on there. Then you get bigger gauze and you put it on there, and you put it on there, and you put pressure on that wound until the bleeding stops. It'll stop bleeding. And you stay there until first responders are able to come. All right? Now, if for whatever horrible reason that wound, this doesn't stop the bleeding, this doesn't stop the bleeding, then you may have to take more drastic measures and use the tourniquet. Now the tourniquet, you put the tourniquet on the individual, okay? Now let's say, for example, let's say my hand gets cut off, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tourniquet right above the wound, okay? And so that tourniquet's there. You take this little thing and you start twisting and twisting and twisting until the bleeding stops. Then when the bleeding stops, then you're going to take this little Velcro doohickey. You're going to put the little lever in that doohickey, okay? And then you put this over and you're going to write the time, because the first responder and the doctor, that time is very important as when that tourniquet was applied. Especially if you got a wound, let's say you have a gashing wound down here, and you put the tourniquet on to stop the bleeding, then I have a certain amount of time that I can save this hand. But, you know, that time is important. So that's what the tourniquet is for. Next and finally, the bucket itself. Remember, I told you that you will not leave that classroom until a first responder, police officer, or administrator opens that door using the keys in which they have. So what do students do when you don't have a bathroom in the classroom? You take your handy dandy little bag, you put it inside the bucket, and you use the provided toilet tissue. Where's the toilet? Oh, there it is. The provided toilet tissue, and voila, you have a toilet. When they're done using the restroom, then put the lid in it and wait for help to be on the way. I want to say thank you very much for coming and being a part of Barstow Toya ISD, and I hope that you find this video very resourceful and useful. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask your building administrator. Thank you.